Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we are continuing our Argan Rose theme with these beautiful bars of Argan Rose cold processed soap. These luxurious bars feature gorgeous argan oil and use some Australian pink clay to create the swirl through the center. Now, if you don't have Australian pink clay, you could use a pink mica instead, but I have a lot of Australian pink clay and I've been reasonably challenged to find uses for the kilogram of it that I have. So I decided to use that to color the swirl. I added some titanium dioxide to the batter as well to create that strong pink-white contrast. Because I added quite a lot of titanium dioxide, I also incorporated a water discount to prevent glycerin rivers. For links to a blog post on that from Auntie Clara, please make sure you're checking out the blog post linked in the description box below. I decorated the top of these bars with two pretty pink things, pink rosebuds and Himalayan pink salt. Thanks to the water discount, this soap batter thickens up quite quickly, so you'll want to make sure that you have everything at hand before you dive in so you can pull everything together before the batter gets too thick to work with. I'd call this an intermediate soaping project, so if you've made maybe 20 batches of soap before, I think you'll have absolutely no problem with this. Before we dive in, I'd like to remind you to check out the partner blog post for this soap, which is linked in the description box below. You'll find a lot more information there, including information about substitutions, the fat blend, the superfat, the water discount, and a whole lot more. But come on, let's go make some soap. Before we dive in, I'm just going to do a quick overview of everything we have here in our workspace. So in this pot, we have our fats. They have been melted and then cooled to room temperature. For full details on the blend, please make sure you're reading the blog post linked in the description box below. We have our sodium hydroxide solution, again, superfat details, water discount, that's all in the blog post. We have our mold here all lined and ready to go. I've got some pink Australian clay and some titanium dioxide. I've got our immersion blender, and then off screen I have another spatula, a fork for decorating the top, some other top decorations, some rosebuds and some Himalayan pink clay, and a roll of paper towels because they're always useful. So we're going to start by blending the titanium dioxide into the fats, and I'm doing this now so that we can blend the titanium dioxide lots without worrying about the batter getting too thick too fast. Now we're going to pour in our sodium hydroxide solution and bring the mixture to a light trace. All right, so we have reached trace. Our next step is going to be pouring some of the batter into a secondary cup, and we'll blend some pink clay into that. So to pour this, the idea is to do about half of the white, then the pink, and then more white. Now, judging by how thick that batter was when I poured it, if I want a swirl, I'm probably going to have to help it along a bit myself. So this is a gear tie, and I find that these make quite good swirling tools. So I'm just going to kind of bend it up so it's about the same length here, and go down and do a little loop-de-loop before coming up. A nice thing about the gear tie being so flexible is I can just kind of bend it up and put it in my soaping pot. So give that some good knocks on the countertop to kind of flatten it out and knock out any air bubbles, and then we can fancy up the top. All that's left now is to leave it to saponify, probably for about a day, and then slice it. So I will see you soon. All right, so it has been about 24 hours, so we can take the soap out of the mold and see if it's ready to slice. Okay, so this is definitely firm enough to slice. So I'm going to kind of trim off some of the extra bits that kind of work their way up the parchment paper, divide it up, and then slice it up. I'm going to use a marble cheese cutter to slice up the full log. I'm just going to kind of roughly have it first so it's a little easier to handle. That's quite a pretty looking swirl. I'm excited to see how it carries through the rest of the loaf. And something to note, when you are slicing a soap like this that has sort of big chunky decorations on the top, you want to make sure you're slicing the bars through the sides so that you aren't dragging bits of salt through the face of the bar, which will mark it up. And you also want to be careful when you're putting the bar, like the log, down, that salt hasn't fallen onto your surface to then dent the bar. And there we go. So we just made some beautiful bars of Argan Rose cold processed soap. I really like how these swirls turned out quite sort of abstract and really quite different throughout the loaf, which I always think is quite cool. Before using and gifting, please make sure you let these bars age for at least 3 weeks. Remember, for more information, please make sure you are checking out the blog post linked in the description box below. You'll find a lot more information there, information on the fat blend, the colorants, where to buy the ingredients, and a whole lot more. But thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.